Peter, welcome to the conference SecureIT.
Thank you, Ravi.
So, please explain that how is the security ecosystem evolving, the cyber security ecosystem globally and especially in Asia?
Well, it's a very complicated situation worldwide, and what we're seeing, a number of things are happening. There's a proliferation of data out there, personal data, private data, government data, and it's becoming increasingly difficult for individuals and organizations to manage that. There's a number of different motivations for cyber criminals. There's individuals who are looking to make financial gain, and of course there's individuals who are just looking to make mischief and disrupt governments and disrupt organizations. So it's a very complex environment. People have tried many different ways to protect their data. Obviously building walls has been a traditional approach, and of course we at Thales Security are favouring an encryption approach. That's what we're all about. And with the recent acquisition of Vormetric, we now have a software and a hardware-based approach to encryption, which means we can manage data when it's moving, and also data when it's at rest. And I think there's some strong evidence that encryption-based approach to managing data is very effective. Because even if you're breached, you can still make sure that any data that's stolen is not usable. We're also seeing an increase in regulatory regulations coming into play throughout the world. Biggest one perhaps, which I think will have an impact on India, is GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation, which has been brought in by the EU Parliament, comes in early 2018. And that means that any data that involves residents of the EU has to be very carefully protected, and organisations that don't will be facing massive fines. So of course that's causing a lot of organisations to really revisit the way they manage their data, and we're seeing a lot of people turning to encryption as a way to manage that, and I expect to see that approach spread out into other parts of the globe. But of course there are plenty of Indian companies that do business in EMEA or trade with EMEA-based or European-based citizens. So I think that's going to have an impact here as well. We've also got eIDAS coming in this year, which means that you'll be able to legally sign documents digitally rather than have to put pen to paper, and I think that's going to have a big impact on the way business is done. So lots of change, lots of things evolving, lots of challenges, as I say, because threats coming in from all sorts of different places, individuals, governments, organisations and cooperatives of hackers. It's a very complicated landscape. I think the other challenge we face is as the Internet of Things evolves, we're going to see more and more devices connected. So if we look at this in simple terms, your car, items around the house, even your fridge and your washing machine, potentially they're online and they're holding personal data about what you eat and your driving habits and a whole host of other things. So there's more and more information going online, which just increases the pressure on managing data security. So it's a huge headache for lots of organizations and individuals, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of challenges over the next couple of years managing that situation.
How is your company prepared to handle this challenge and opportunity?
Well, are you talking generally or specifically in the Indian marketplace?
Specifically in the Indian.
So we've increased our footprint here in India in the last 6 months. Very pleased to say that we have a significantly increased team now. We've got a technical team in Pune. We've got sales resources in Bangalore and Delhi and Mumbai, and we're putting particular focus onto the public sector here in Delhi as well, with some new recruits into that space. And we're also increasing our partner network across the region as well, because we go to market through a network of partners. So we've worked hard to increase our presence here and increase our footprint in India. So I think that's a good message right there. We've also increased our portfolio. Thales eSecurity has been in business for many years, focused on the hardware security module market, which is hardware-based encryption. very, very strong in the payments market, and in fact we provide encryption services to a number of the major financial services institutions here in India. We've added the Vormetric platform to that now, and as of the beginning of this year, we're going to market as one joined up organization with the legacy Thales product and the Vormetric products. So that means that we're able to address encryption in terms of data when it's stored, but also data when it's in motion as well. So I think that gives us a really, really strong proposition in terms of helping organizations manage their encryption strategy. We've got a lot of use cases, as I say, financial services, manufacturing, automotive. I mean, we even take care of a lot of confidential data for one of the Formula One racing teams in Williams. So all the information that's transmitted from the pit lanes back to head office during the races, we're taking care of that. Healthcare is a growth market for us. We're managing lots of patient data. We're working on a very, very significant project in Germany at the moment, managing private healthcare data for all of the German population. So I think we've got a really good story around that data protection piece in a number of different vertical markets: finance, healthcare, manufacturing, and I look forward to having that detailed conversation with lots of users here in the Indian marketplace over the coming months.
And any ideas that you have regarding the regulatory environment for security in India?
Sorry?
Regulatory environment for security in India.
Well, I mean, regulation is a very, very strong driver. So, and a lot of organizations find that it's interesting because we often see that what's been enforced through regulatory requirements often becomes best practice. But as I say, we talked about the requirements that the GDPR regulation is driving. We've talked about the requirements that EIDAS is driving. There's lots of other regional certifications that come into play around data security. So we focus on regulatory requirements in all the regions that we do business in, and very, very important for us that we're at the forefront of helping our customers to comply. So that's a very important part of what we do.
So I think we will end here, Peter, and we will hear you more on the stage when you speak.
Indeed, looking forward to joining the panel later on and hopefully getting some tough questions from the audience. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ravi. That's been great. No, thank you very much.